Hello everyone and welcome to episode 117 of the Cherry Heart podcast. I'm Sandra and this is a crafty podcast featuring crochet, knitting and sewing for the most part. You'll be able to find the show notes for this podcast on my blog, which is cherryheart.co.uk, and I'll also pop a link to that in the down bar below. You will be able to skip to different sections of this video using the timestamps below in the down bar as well, or by using the little blobs on the bottom of the screen. Just click on the one that you would like to see more of. You can also find me on Instagram as Sandra Cherry HRT, that's where I'm mostly to be found, and elsewhere around the web as Cherry Heart. So hello, how are you? How is everyone? Long time no see, right? Yes, it's been a while. Well, the whole of April passed with nothing from me. Well, my March moments went up maybe in the beginning of April, but sorry about that. Doggy interruptions already. We've barely got started and already he's kicking off. So yes, I may have had to just cut myself short on whatever I was just saying, but yes, basically it's been a while, so I hope you've been doing okay. I've been away for a little bit because my date for my surgery came through, so I've gone and had that all done now, so that's great news, fantastic. And I've recovered from the surgery absolutely fine. I had a couple of weeks sort of resting it up and taking it easy, but I'm sort of back up to speed there now. There's been a few little bumps and glitches along the road, so a few little bits to still sort out. But yeah, the main job is done, so that's really good news. But yes, that was just a little health update for those of you who are regulars and were wondering, but I know a lot of you have been sending lots of lovely well wishes through for me, so thank you so much for that. That's so kind of you. And yeah, so I just thought I'd give you a little update, but I won't keep banging on about it, because if you're new here you won't know what on earth I'm talking about, and yes, it'll all seem odd. So we'll just get right back into the crafty things. I think I've got quite a bit to share, or probably quite a lot to say, it feels like, anyway. So I'll start and I'll see how I go. I might have to break this down into two pieces because I can never upload very much podcast at once. The upload here is just diabolical, so I have to jump through a lot of loops to actually get a upload up, so I try not to make it any more than sort of, well, half an hour. So if this goes over, I might break it down into two parts. So in the timestamps down below, I'll sort of list the things that I'm talking about in this part, and then so if you're looking for something particular for me to talk about, which you might not know about yet because you don't even know what I'm going to talk about, but if there's something in particular and it's going to be in the next part, I'll try and sort of, once they're both up, I'll link, and you know what I mean, so you can find what you want basically. So if I'm not going to talk about it here, then it will be in the second half. That was confusing, but yeah, basically all the things I'm going to talk about in this video I will list below so you know, and then if it's not in this one, you know to look in the other one, and vice versa. So now that's explained, let's crack on. The first thing to talk about basically is this. This is my finished item, my only finished item I think, which is my second Perec vest. So if you were here, I was going to say last time, maybe the time before. So that's the pattern, and there is the designer name. So I made one of these as per the pattern, which is, I don't know if you can see on that picture, it's round neck. So I made one as per the pattern in beige yarn, a sort of browny taupey coloured yarn. Taupe, not taupe, taupe, is that how? Brown. Yarn. And that was really nice, but I was thinking I would like a v-neck version as well, because I wasn't sure which to plump for before, but I enjoyed making the first one so much, and it was nice and quick, that I thought I would just make a V-neck in grey as well. So I've done that. So what can I tell you? Let's tell you the yarn first. So I've used the same yarn again. This is what I used first time. Let's put that on there. And this is the colour, which I think is just 03, is that? Can't even see what I'm holding up. I think it was pearl grey, I think they called it. Yeah, 03. Yeah, so this is the same yarn as I used for my other one, because I kind of knew I got gauged really nicely and it was really nice to work with, and I got a really nice block on it. So I thought I'll go for the same again. I think I've actually got a little more left over this time, I guess, which makes sense because I've sort of, the round neck would have come up here, so I've got a little bit there that I didn't knit this time. So I've made some changes apart from the V-neck, obviously. I've done a twisted rib this time, just because I always find with my rib the knit stitches, instead of sort of staying nice tight V's together, they always sort of want to splay out, which does annoy me slightly. So I thought I'll try a twisted knit stitch. Ooh. I'm recording at a different time of day, and as the afternoon comes, the sun comes round the side here, and it's quite bright on this side, as you see, so sorry about that. Yeah, so I've done that on the neck. I also did it on the arm cuffs, and I've done it on the bottom as well. Sorry to be looking at the screen, but it's hard to sort of... I'm recording on my phone today. I normally record on my little Sony camera, but hubby decided to steal my microphone. Or I should say, he decided to reclaim his own microphone, which I normally steal off of him, because he needed it for work today. So I've just switched back to the old iPhone for this recording. So yeah, it's just, everything's different. And you know, I don't cope well with change, clearly. Anyway, yes, so I'm trying to make myself look at the little green dot to make sure I'm looking at the camera, but it's hard when I'm talking about this thing over here. But anyway, the other changes I made, I think in the pattern it gives you a tubular cast off for this, which I did do on the first one. I just didn't bother this time. I just cast off loosely. It was, you know, it's a nice touch, but I think I just, you know, I didn't think it made that much difference. Or was it on the neck that you did it? That was it. I think on the first one they got you to do a tubular cast off on the neck and not on the sleeves, and I thought on the first one I wish I'd done it on the sleeves as well to match in, but this time I thought, since it didn't seem to make a massive amount of difference, it's plenty wide enough, I don't need it that stretchy to go over my head, I just did a regular cast off. So the changes I made basically is, instead where it says do so many decreases, so you knit this side, then you knit the other side, so you go down, it says do so many decreases until you've got however many stitches it is, and then you do the other side to match, and then you just start knitting straight across in the round. So instead of knitting straight across, I just carried on doing those decreases until I had half of, you know, when you join in the round it gives you a stitch count, so I just knit down till I decreased to that half of that number, whatever that was. So then I had half the stitches this side, half the stitches that side, and when I joined in the round I was back to what it should be. Although saying that, it wasn't in the round, because you can see the sleeve is lower, so I just knit back and forth, or whatever it said. But basically I decreased down to half the number of stitches that I should have end up with for the across width. So it was very, very simple modification. Now I did complicate matters slightly because I was worried about the V-neck sort of coming up too high. I wanted this sort of width at the back here to be a bit wider, because it's not that massively wide on the original. So I actually cast on for the largest size, so I had more stitches across the back here, and then you do increases on this either side of these stitches here until you've got the right number stitches. So all I did was I did all the increases on the front as the pattern for the size I wanted to make, which I think was size 4, maybe size 3 or size 4. So I cast on the largest size there, followed the increased instructions for the size I was making, and then on the back I didn't need so many increases because obviously I already had more stitches to start, but I only needed to increase a few stitches to get up to the correct stitch size for my pattern. How's that work as an explanation? But I've made a note of what I did in case anyone wanted to know, so I can write that up, but having gone to the trouble of doing that, I'm not sure it was worthwhile, if I'm honest. I think I would have been fine just to cast on, knit as per my side, and purely do those few extra decreases to bring the v-neck down a little. So yeah, I went to sort of all that trouble, and I think it was largely useless, you know, like pointless. So I would just advise literally do that. Just literally follow all the instructions, and then when it says, you know, stop the decreases and then cast on so many to join, don't do that. Just carry on with your decreases until you've got your correct stitch count that you need. And that's all you need to do. And then make as the rest of it. And the other slight change is I just changed this little side panel. So on the original it gets you to do, I think it's slip stitches down here. So I just modified that slightly and just did the twisted knit stitches again, just because when I was making the original I kept forgetting if I was on a slip stitch round or a just regular round, and I did get into the swing of it after a little while, but there were a few I messed up, I think. So I just thought I'm just gonna knit them through the back loop instead, because that would be easier for my little brain to cope with. So that's all. That's the only changes I've made. Sorry, I'm laughing at myself because I feel I'm expressing myself badly, but what's new? So yes, but anyway, I've had this finished for quite a while now, and this is the first day I've worn it because I wanted to hang on and show it to you guys. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I really like it. It's really easy to wear. It's nice and loose, as you can see. I don't know if I've put the twirl in already. If I haven't, I'll put it in now. So next I'm going to talk about another thing that you know about, which is my Crochet Star quilt. There hasn't been a massive, I was going to say there hasn't been a massive amount of development on this, but to be honest I can't remember what stage I was at. But so these are the blocks I'm making. So I'm crocheting, but I'm making it like a sewn quilt, sort of like a farmhouse gorgeous quilt. And I'm doing colour changes. So this square has got 2 colours on it to make up the pattern, and then I'm just putting like effectively a sort of sashing, a white sashing on each block, so that when I join them together I'll have a bit of a space between my stars. So I've got 3 main colours that I'm using. I want some blue ones, I want some pink ones, and I want some grey ones. And my basic idea was to make this from stash, so I did pull out originally quite a few minis and things in here from stash, So pink was quite successful. I've got a lot in here that I can use for stash, so I'm quite happy with that. I've got a reasonable amount of grey bits that I can use from stash, and I think my original idea was just to go with the pink and grey, but then I got, because we're decorating our room, which still needs to be done, but I did get the bed covers. But I got these lovely bed covers that I saw, but they're actually blue and white, even though I knew my colour scheme was kind of the pink colour. I don't know why, but it was just so gorgeous I couldn't resist it. So I thought, oh, I'll bring some blue in and that will tie it all together. But the only problem with that is I haven't got any blue that's the right kind of blue, really. I've got kind of like a bit more of a duck eggy blue, because that's one of my favourite colours. It's what my bedroom was before. But this bed cover that I've purchased is more of a, you know, a true blue, a pale, I don't know, I don't want to say baby blue, but I guess it's kind of like a baby blue. It's a very pale blue, and it hasn't got those sort of greeny tones like the yarns I have in them. So I've struggled to get the right shade and in the right sort of pale enough. It's very hard to get things pale enough. So I've brought a few ones to try, as every time it seems to happen to me, when I'm trying to make a blanket from stash, I always end up having to buy something to actually complete the blanket, which is really frustrating. So I brought this one, which on the surface of it looks really great, but when it's made up as a square, it just looks a little bit much. Sort of look how washed out and faded that is, and that looks like really quite strong and striking. So don't love that. And I've also got this one, which I thought would be lovely. I'm not sure what that is. It was a cascade yarn of some sort, and that comes out like that, but again that looks so dark compared to, where's my, this is my favourite one, you see, and this was a mini that I got in my loom advent for last year, but I only had, a mini only makes one block, but it's so dark compared. So although I really love this yarn and I love the colour, it's not really what I want. I want something much more in this area. So I did get a lovely message from Jodie, who's Tatty Cats and Yarny Tales, my lovely friend who has an absolute beautiful curated collection of yarn, and she offered me, so kindly offered me some of hers. So I have a couple of things. I think she's going to rescue me here, or she has rescued me here. So she's got this one, which is lovely, and this one I think will hit the spot as well. It's a little darker, obviously, but they are sort of the right kind of tones. And then I've got a full skein of one of hers as well. What I might also do, because I've got lots of different shades, if I go with the full skein for all the rest of the squares, I think it might make the other sort of more eclectic colours look a little odd. So I have actually got, which I got several years ago, some undyed yarn and some yarn, some acid dyes to dye yarn. And I've never actually got around to doing it. I was very enthusiastic about it at one point, and then I did my usual thing of just sort of getting a bit, I don't know, intimidated by the whole idea and feeling like I wouldn't be able to do it and it was all going to be rubbish. I have a lot of this lately. So I haven't done it, but I thought maybe this is the time. So if I could get another nice pale one as well with these other bits and bobs that I've got, I think that might be enough to balance it out. So I hope that isn't too repetitive and I didn't tell you all of those things last time. It's trouble when it's been so long, I can't remember what I'm doing. Just assembling my stack to show you. So I have so far 10 fully completed star blocks. So that's that lovely lot. Definitely didn't have that many to show you last time. And And a lot of the time since we last spoke has been devoted to creating this stack basically, because it does take quite a long time to do them. I would guess it takes me at least 2 evenings. One to kind of make the colour change ones and get it assembled more or less, and then putting the sort of blank squares in. That sort of takes like another evening. So it just feels like quite a slow progressing thing, which is fine in the sense don't mind waiting for it, I'm not in a hurry, but not so fine in the sense of it's just not very fulfilling to do. I really want the end results, but it's a bit of a labour of love in that it's not like they're really, really enjoyable to make. They're not terrible to make, but they're not really, really enjoyable to make. My favourite thing is to whip up the 2 colour squares, but there's a lot of just sort of plain whites that have to go on there. That's a little bit of a slog, if I'm honest. And I've also got these 2 that need the sashing on. So I've nearly got 12 altogether, nearly, and I think I need 30 for the blanket. So that seemed like a good time to take a little bit of a break from it, because it felt like I've been doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and didn't really have a massive amount to show for it. And I just needed to take a bit of a break from it to do some other things. So I put that to one side for a little bit while I have a little bit of relief from that. And then I'll sort of try and slog through and get some more done. Yes, so the other thing to say is, although I've got my 10 and my other 2, there's 2 in here that I'm really not sure of. So one was this, which maybe I can get away with, and this was one of the other trial yarns, which again is absolutely fine, it's lovely, but it is quite dark compared to what I actually wanted. So that may, 1 or 2 of those, both of those may get jettisoned, which means I've got to make another 2 to replace them. Oof. Which I'm not sure I can bear, in all honesty. But we'll see, we'll see. If I get some more of these blues done, blue is my trouble colour, if I get some more of those done and maybe get that dyed up one as well, so I'm happy that I've got something I can work with, that might kind of renew my enthusiasm for the project, because at the moment I feel a little bit sort of, it's not coming out exactly how I wanted it, and that's kind of frustrating me a little bit. I was just thinking, look, this could be another grey, couldn't it? I might put that on there. It is alpaca though, it's got some alpaca in it, which none of the others have, so maybe not. Maybe if I run out of other options. But yeah, so that's on one side for a minute while I kind of attempt to dye some blue yarn, essentially. I mean, I could carry on with what I've got, but I know in my heart of hearts that that's what's holding me back. I just want that missing element to kind of be in place, so that I feel like, yeah, I am going to like it when it's done. At the moment I feel a bit like it's alright, but it's not exactly, you know, hitting my buttons. I'm looking at myself again, look over there. Yes, so that's kind of in the background. What should we talk about now? I've got another finished object. I'm jumping around between what I'm doing and finished objects, but we'll just have to go with it. I could have used this actually just now when I was chatting about them, but if you've been here previously on the Cherry Heart podcast, you will know I often talk about the fact that I tend to lay things on me so that I can show you, and I actually made something to solve that problem. A design board. That's catching the light. So I've just plonked a bit of crochet on here to see if it would work. But this was the idea, and then I could hold this up and chat about it. Hold this up, chat away, and you'd be able to see what I was talking about. Let's see if this square will stick on here. So these squares, are something I'm just trying out at the moment, messing about with. But I kind of blocked them and then popped them on there to see if it'll work. Let's see if it works if I just put something like this on, because I've used what's the word, batting to coat it, and it's kind of grippy, but it's, oh yeah, that works. Look, there we go. If we weren't getting the glare from the window, we'd be well away. There we go. So I can hold it up and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Fantastic. Fantabulous. So this is a design board. That's what they seem to be called. And I got the sort of pattern, I suppose. I followed the tutorial from this from Laurie Holt, who has a blog called Bee in My Bonnet, I think. And presumably that's what her YouTube is called as well. Yes, but she's got a video on how to make these. I'll link it in the show notes for you. But basically, just had a board that I found that is dirty apparently, and put some quilt batting on it, and then you kind of put this edging on just so it looks a little bit nicer. Sorry about this horrible glare I keep shoving at you. Yeah, you sort of use a glue gun and stick it all on. But yeah, I'll link to the video because it's very good. She shows how she does it. Hers are a lot neater than mine, obviously, but she's made a lot more of them. I struggled a bit to get my sort of binding very neat, and it feels a bit lumpy bumpy and obbly bobbly. And I didn't get my, I mean, they don't look too bad. I didn't get my corners particularly neat, but you know, it's only for holding up like this, and I think it does that job okay. So yes, I've been talking about making one of these for about 6 months at least, if not longer, probably longer, knowing me. There you go, so it's good to have that done. Put my little test bit of crochet on. Feel a bit bad showing you these and not even talking about them now, but there's not a lot to say because I've kind of made up some samples and I'm writing it up. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with them. I guess maybe there could be a blanket, that's what I was thinking. Something with minis. We're getting sun like crazy now. Yeah, but hopefully more on that to follow. Right, I'm going to pause there because it's looking like I've already been talking for about, well, it's been recording for about half an hour, so I think I am going to have to break this up into 2 parts. So I'm going to leave it here for now, and yes, I will start recording again and record a second half, and I will pop that up soon. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'm going to see you shortly in part 2. I'll probably call it podcast 118 just to keep the numbers in sequence, and because I probably won't get it up immediately because I'm quite slow. But yes, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, for now, bye. Dog interference, how unusual, so early.